Hey guys, Tbull here. Today we're gonna look at the Tennessee for you. We got Willie Lee on the screen there. The Italian Battleship Commander reload and Kedrov with the turret versus the build. Clearly we haven't gotten too far on this line yet. You can see we have no upgrades or anything. So we'll probably maybe do a deeper dive on the ship itself once I get a little bit further on with it with experience. But I thought this game's a pretty good look at the ship, what can it do, and more importantly, very important lessons in the last, I don't know, third of this video or so. How to close out games. Standard mode. We talk a lot about domination mode strategy in this game, coming down to the score. Standard, a little bit harder for people to understand a lot of times how the scoring works. So basically we're getting 2 points every 5 seconds each team, as long as there's not a ship on our base. So if red moves a ship onto the blue base, then we cease to get those. So if we'll see basically in the end how this comes into play. Capture the base mode. Occasionally you'll win games by capturing the base. That's usually not how I advocate using the base. We use it more as a score adjustment by relying, once we get on that base, then we can kind of even up the score or take the lead based on the fact that they're not getting those points for the duration that we're on there. Of course, if we're able to capture the base, go ahead and take it. That's a great way to win, of course, but it's not the most reliable. And it's kind of over-relied on. Anyways, opening salvo here on the Dell, so you can see we're going to go ahead and take a bite out of them there. Now, this game, I think, was still shot when the damage bug was active. Overpen bug wasn't necessarily registering all the damage properly. I don't know that for a fact. I can't remember for sure when this game was played, but I'm pretty dang sure that it was. So, some of these salvos, if they look a little bit strange, due to the damage output, I think that's probably why. But we're going to be seeing a lot of heavy Citadel shots in this game, so I don't think the damage bug affected us too much in this particular match. But ring, basically what we're doing here, you can... I don't like it when the entire team kind of plays on the base, but if you got people on your team spreading out, especially as the battleship here, you can kind of hang out around your cap, at least to open. And you got good coverage. You can shoot over a lot of these islands. We'll see some of those shots here. We can adjust which side we're attacking or defending against, depending on the flow of the game here. Trying to turn out here, so we took a little bit of a risk against that Nevada. Luckily, he didn't whack us with the Citadel there, but we were getting spammed by the Dallas. We were going to have a relatively hard time taking him out, but usually the battleship players that are having trouble with the HE spammers, you know, if you can get away from them safely, that's usually the best bet. Get back to them later in the match when you don't have so much to focus on. But let's say we're trying to duel that Nevada 1v1 and we got that Dallas hosing us down for the duration of the match. At the same time, we're probably going to lose that fight because then we got a 2-on-1. That Nevada's got a constant source of backup damage on us, and we're just kind of relying on our guns in a more of a 1v1 fight. So go ahead and get away from them. Just turn around. We got a little bit lucky. Didn't take the big shot from the Nevada. Now we're kind of safe. Now we've encountered this Graf Spee here. We got him a nice juicy shot to open. He's kind of stalled out here. I'm assuming he's going to back up because usually when a ship is moving forward, then they stop like this. They're about to back up. So we aim towards the back of the ship here. He doesn't actually begin to back up. So I'm looking at that salvo thinking, oh man, that could have been a he gone moment. At least potentially. But just due to the fact that he didn't move, we ended up shooting a little bit behind him. Now he begins to back up, which is what he should have been doing initially, in my opinion. So I'm not 100% sure why he stopped there, but he is relatively dangerous. Now, the Graf Spee fighting a battleship, he's got to be more scared of us than we do of him, but you don't want to underestimate the Graf Spee. It does have pretty big guns for a cruiser. It's kind of like battleship guns on cruiser body is a good way to think of that ship. So he's got to be more afraid of us. He should be actively disengaging, which he's trying to do by getting behind that island. But we don't want to sit here broadside all day taking shots from him, because you can see he's actually been piling up a little bit of chip damage here and there. I'm trying to move over here to support this side because we got pretty good control of the north and the west. You can see here we got one destroyer kind of trying to deal with these two destroyers backed up by a cruiser and a battleship. And then we got a couple other ships sitting in the base here, a couple cruisers. So I would like to free up this side a little bit. Hopefully get these destroyers off. You can see two destroyers per side. Got a chance to give a whack on the Mutsu, and we got a triple Citadel on him there. Oh, look out, bud. That's coming in hot. And we almost straight up dev struck him there. The Mutsu is a fun ship to shoot at. Now, it's got big booming guns, but it's not the best in terms of armor. So you got to be careful when you're playing that ship. And we were doing a good job paying attention on the map there. We noticed them coming broadside and gave him a whack. And then luckily our team finished him off there, but we did shoot again just to make sure. We didn't want him to get out of range, disengage, and then heal that damage, and then live to fight another day. If you get those battleships down low, you got to make sure you give them the coup de grace and get them off the board so they don't make you pay for it later. Anyway, we're moving in here. Continue to try and trend. You can see we haven't really moved that far if you've been paying attention to our position on the map. Now, we're in an unupgraded Tennessee, so I think our max speed is like about 17 knots or so. I think it gets up to about 20 once you get the hull upgraded. We'll see that hopefully shortly once we get the ship a little more work. But since we're kind of in the middle of the board anyways, you can see our firing range. We got pretty good control. We can target most of the ships, and if we continue to trend this way for a little bit longer, we should have pretty much all the ships in our range. I'm looking at the map here, noticing the carriers going all the way up the edge of the map on the north there. Got a Gremmy FE, by the way. Anytime you see a ship with the FE, that stands for Founders Edition. That was a package of ships that was available only for like the first month, maybe a month and a half of the game when it came out. At this point in time, that was almost 2.5 years ago. So anytime you see an FE ship, I would generally advise trying to shoot it. We don't know for a fact that they've been playing for 2.5 years straight, but there's a pretty good chance the guy's a fairly experienced player. So, I mean, we want to be shooting the destroyers anyways, but definitely want to be paying attention to anyone with those FE designations on their ship titles. So we're go ahead and try to target him. He got low enough that I'm going to rely on my teammates to kill him, hopefully. Do want to take a whack at this Fubuki as well, who's spotted over here at this point in time. You can see we got a pretty decent ship lead. We're up 2 ships. We're going to go ahead and take this shot at this Fubuki. Graph speed goes down, so we're up 3 ships at this point in time. Look at that salvo there. We're going to wind up hitting this Fubuki fairly hard. And got one more follow-up salvo there. Sorry if you can hear the rain. It's a big storm coming out all of a sudden. But at this point in time, you might be looking at the board saying, okay, well, why is this game going to be close? If you were paying attention to my intro, it probably sounds like it's going to be close, and it is. You don't always want to be... In fact, it's usually a bad idea just to be looking at, okay, we got this amount of ship lead or whatever. What could go wrong? Let's start playing fast and loose. If we're in the destroyer, maybe we're going to just start shooting our guns, popping off. You know, in open waters, you can see there the Dallas takes out the Furutaka. I mean, the ships can go down pretty easily. That's why I like to, and there the carrier just whacked the Tennessee. That's usually why I like to be locking my guns, scanning both the enemy's team ships, checking their health, checking my own team's health. When you're planning out these end game scenarios, you can see they've already tied it up 4v4 at this point in time. And we got a destroyer. He's trying to rush the Dallas. I don't know. That's probably the hardest ship for him to take out. If I'm that destroyer, I know he's a Mutsuki, but if he was paying attention, he should know they have about a half health to maybe a 40% health Fubuki on the enemy team. Not a guaranteed fight that he can win, but he's got a much better chance than trying to torpedo Dallas, which is kind of pointless. So we got the carrier coming in on the map. You can see he's going to begin to bomb us, which is going to be a problem. Those German bombers, the AP bombers, pack a bit of a punch, as I'm sure everybody knows at this point in time. And then we got a cruiser rushing towards the battleship. See, he's got the spotting, he's got the island cover. I would prefer him to get safe. Now the Bayern's returning with HE. Not a bad shell shooting against the Dallas. With that lightly armored Dallas, it's still going to do a lot of damage. But I think the cruiser on our team just being a little too aggressive here. And you can see on the map, the destroyer is spotted here. We're going to see him right here. And at this point in time, doesn't matter what you're in. Battleship, I mean, if I can kill this Fubuki, I'm assuming torps are in the water here. I'm assuming we're going to die. We're turning the front turrets. We had shots lined up off the right of our ship. We don't care about that. We need to kill the Fubuki. And you can see how low he is right here. That would have been a great thing for that destroyer in our team to be countering this guy. But getting back to my point, you got to do everything you can to get these destroyers off late in the game, especially these capture the base mode. He was on the base for a little bit, so they got a little bit of scoring out of there. But those destroyers, you know, once you go down and you no longer have control over the game, it's kind of up to your team. A good destroyer player in the enemy team can wreck your team. And luckily there, we got a nice juicy shot on the bell. So take him out, back up to 2-ship lead. We're getting low. We got a fire. We got a permanent fire for another 45 seconds. We got the Bayern. Now that cruiser is still zooming around. I think he's parked in the smoke here. And then we got the destroyer. Now, the destroyer at this point in time, he's, of course, in torpedoing battleship mode, right? We understand that. That's to be expected. I'm not necessarily against that at this point in time in the game. We're getting a little bit of whack on him there, but he's probably looking at our health saying, okay, this guy's going to go down. And if you look at the score, what you have to understand with a battleship is when your team loses a battleship, basically the score adjusts towards the enemy's favor by 100 points. Okay, so I don't know what the exact breakdown is. It's like you, by killing it, get 65 points, the enemy team loses 35 or whatever. Doesn't matter. We're just making a 100-point adjustment. So you got to understand that. So if I die at this point in time and the score, the ship's composition stays the same for the rest of the game, then we lose based on the score here. So, you know, I'd be looking at this saying, okay, we're down about 30 points here. If I can get on that base, maybe we can make up those points. But it's still early. We've got about 5 minutes left in this game. I don't mind him trying to kill the buy-in here at this point in time. We're just throwing it all out. I'm trying to get this last shot off. I know I'm going to die here. That's a given. Luckily, I got him in return. So now what do we got going? The carrier that's been zooming all the way around. They actually crossed, if you were paying attention a moment ago. The carriers came within 2 feet of each other. Too bad this guy didn't manage to ram the other carrier, because then we'd have the win at this point in time. But he's getting in the base now, and check the score here. We're down, what is that, about 80 points, give or take, 85 points looks like. The carriers, it's a 110-point swing. So if we lose the battleship, the score adjusts in the enemy's favor by 100. Carrier's worth 110, so you got to factor that in. Destroyer needs to be burning every speed boost he's got, you know, use the nitrous in the gas tank, get all the way up here to the base, ignore the enemy carrier, because, okay, if you're thinking to yourself, all right, I got to go kill that last guy, they got one ship left, the only way I know how to win the game is to sink everyone on the enemy team, you got to factor in that it's going to take 3-4 minutes to get over there, most likely. Closer to get to the base, all you got to be on the base, because we have to assume this carrier is going to die. You see his health. He's got 5k health. That guy's got 20k health. And note, he has 20k health now. We'll see how he's doing later in the game. I just want you to pay attention to that. But when we're evaluating, okay, how is this game going to play out, you have to assume the lower health ship is going to go down. Okay, so we got to assume they're going to get that 110 points here. Luckily, he's on the base now. I don't know why he's not launching planes. I don't know if he put the controller down, buffing his Dewey or what. Or he's out of planes. Doesn't matter. He almost tied it up. Well, he basically got pretty close to tying it up there. You can see we're just about that 10 points behind. And then what do we got? We got 3 minutes left. How long is it going to take this guy to get over here to the cap? Well, I'd say about a minute, minute and a half. Now, I'm pretty sure he's got a smoke in his inventory as well. We'll see how it plays out here. So all he's got to reasonably do is get on that cap, run the smoke, assuming he's got it, go full speed, go as fast and as far as you can get a nice long smoke, and then just kind of go back and forth in there. Make it nearly impossible for the guy to blind drop him with the bombs or the torpedoes, and we win on score comfortably. So that's how I would win this game. That's how anyone who understands how to win the game and is actually trying to do it would do it. But your teammates usually aren't going to try and win the game, or they don't understand how to do it, or they're just not thinking clearly or whatever. So you can see he's opening up with his front gun now. He's got 2 minutes left to do 20,000 damage. If he does any damage in the next 2 minutes, I'll be pretty surprised, but it's certainly not going to be 20k damage. So he's zooming in there. He's trying to get the torques down. I mean, we know what Japanese destroyer players are trying to do. They don't ever pay attention to the circumstances of the game. They only try and torpedo things. So I'm assuming, hopefully, he's a new player or just needs some work on the strategy side of the game. That's why we're going over this game. I'm not trying to be rude to this particular player. Common, every single game that has a Japanese destroyer player in it, you see poor decision-making out of them. It's very, very rare to see well-played Japanese destroyers, and when you do have them on your team, they're actually quite powerful. But usually they're handing the enemy W's and putting L's in your pocket. You can see no damage being done whatsoever. This is not a winning strategy. We're down to 110. He could still actually get on the base and still win the game quite comfortably. But instead he's trying to get past these bombers, trying to go in there for the suicide strike. Secondaries will, of course, tear him up as soon as he gets close. And I don't think at this point in time, assuming the Whistler keeps sailing away, that the torps could even get to him. But if he did get him there, he'd have to get pretty close at the launch point. And I think his ship would probably go down there. So All you got to do, pay attention to the score there. Again, every 5 seconds, we get 2 points for being on the base. So all we had to make up was 12 points. What's that? 30 seconds, 35 seconds, whatever it is. I think 30 seconds we would have had it. 35 for sure on the base. Or we could try and gun them down and do absolutely no damage and just concede the game by not paying attention. So very frustrating way to lose the game. Very, very common way. That's why, once again, and there's the smoke. So that was a very, very easy win. All you had to do is understand how to win and implement a winning strategy as opposed to a losing strategy. Carrier knew he was going to be torped, so of course he's just turning off. No chance of losing the game for the red team there. So that's a look at the Tennessee for you guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, consider subscribing. Lots of World of Warships coming all the time. Questions, comments, leave below. Love to hear from you, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.